Red here, and I am joined by...
I'm Sol from a dead YouTube channel called EyeofSol.
Alright, I just got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind answering any. And of course, if you don't like answering any, feel free to just say no, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so when did you start YouTube?
I had originally uploaded a couple videos in 2011, some shitty Windows Movie Maker videos that are gone now. But officially, I started doing YouTube in 2015, February 2015.
Wow, you've been on here for a bit.
Yeah, but I stopped doing regular videos a while ago, and now I just don't do videos at all.
While doing YouTube, did you have any inspirations?
I basically just went with what was popular at the time. People like I Hate Everything had good editing styles, so I didn't really have any significant inspirations other than just whatever was popular at the time. The only real original thing that I tried to do was just my actual opinions, but style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was sort of cobbled together from a bunch of popular YouTubers at the time.
Gotcha. Did you have a favorite review that you've done before?
I kind of hate all my reviews now. They make me cringe every time I think about them. But if I had to choose one, it would probably be... I think the Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu review ended up being my favorite, because it actually got some attention from the creators of the show, and I really like Spinjitzu, and I think that barring that one stupid scene, if I were to go back and watch it now, I don't think I'd actually have any particular issue with it. Like, everything I said then, I wouldn't go back and be like, yeah, I don't know why I said that. Whereas a lot of my old reviews, I could do that. Especially like the Advent Children one. I don't even know what I was thinking with that one. Too biased, too blinded, that sort of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you not get any of the other creators of any of those shows attention with any other video, or just that one?
I think Olin Rogers might have tweeted something at me with his Final Space. He's a creator of Final Space. I think when I did my adult animation video, he might have, but I don't remember. I vaguely recall something like that, but I don't remember. It wasn't very significant. Other than that, no. Nobody really, I didn't really get very much attention.
Did you like not getting attention from it, or did you like the small attention you did get?
At the time, I hated it. I wanted to be a successful YouTuber. I wanted attention. But then, over time, I grew to be uncomfortable with the type of attention I was getting. Not that it was bad attention, it was just the level of devotion some people will give to people who don't deserve it. Like, a random person who makes videos for YouTube is not worthy of, like, hero worship. It was really creepy. It was creeping me out. So, it was... my priorities changed after a while, because I started doing YouTube cartoon reviews as a way to feel close to the cartoon community and the animation industry. But then I actually started working in the animation industry, like, legit got a job in the industry, and then it fell to a lower priority because it felt stupid to do after a while. It was embarrassing, honestly. I'm gonna have to live with this embarrassment for the rest of my life that I've done this. So, let's just hope it doesn't disrupt anything I try to achieve in the future. Like, get my own cartoon made.
Well, when did you start working on Spinjitzu?
Sorry, now can you hear me properly? I forgot my microphone was down.
You're okay.
Sorry. Okay, when did I start working on Ninjago?
Yeah.
Earlier this year, actually.
Were you working on any other show besides Ninjago, or just Ninjago?
I was not working on a show. I was on the technical pipeline team. So I was an artist, and I was tech end for a couple years. And then I had an opportunity to switch to artist side, which was my goal. I mean, I like tech and everything, but I didn't want to stay there forever. So I had an opportunity, word of mouth spread that I'm a big Ninjago fan, and I was offered a position on the show. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do that. I love Ninjago.
Oh yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Honestly, it was one of my favorite shows growing up.
Yeah, it's a mainstay, for sure. It's Cartoon Network's longest running show, for a good reason. It's consistently good.
Yeah, yeah, and it hasn't dipped down in viewers or it hasn't dipped down in quality, from what I can tell. I mean, I fell off the bandwagon personally, but that's what happens when you lose Cartoon Network.
Yeah. I don't know. I just something about that show just really it resonates with me. It's the part I love most about it, just beyond the show itself, is just taking your limitations and turning them into strengths. I feel like that's what makes Ninjago great, is that they're limited in style, they're limited in presentation, and they just fucking do everything they possibly can to make it the best that they can, and I admire that.
I gotcha. I can understand that. Um, Honestly, I mean, I was just watching some of your videos in preparation for the interview, and well, no, honestly, I grew up with your channel. I liked it. I mean, I thought the jokes you made in the editing was rather nice. Honestly.
Well, editing, yeah, I guess. But again, I was mostly just going off of what was popular at the time. So if you liked me, it was probably because you liked other YouTubers. I mean, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Nobody on YouTube knows what they're doing. They just start out as a bunch of stupid kids who have no idea, and they just parrot each other and steal each other's jokes and their editing style until they eventually either come into their own and form their own style, or they just give up.
I mean, honestly, I mean, you might say that, and I can see where you're coming from. Honestly, I can. But I mean, as an inspiration, personally, I liked your videos growing up.
Well,
I mean,
thank you. Oh my god, I'm retro. Holy shit. Uh, are you surprised then that I seem so, like, jaded and cynical about it?
not really.
Okay.
And to say that, I mean the extent of you seem the same way you do in your own videos. There's
Well,
no
that
face. There's no fake persona you put up.
Well, the Saul character in my videos was basically just an extremely hyperbolic version of myself. But that's the thing, is the least genuine I ever was when I tried to be funny. I'm not a funny person naturally. I'm more of an extreme downer. So when I tried to be funny and tell jokes and everything like that, that was me desperately trying to connect with my audience, because nobody likes Debbie Downer, and I am like Debbie Downer incarnate over here. But when it came to actually expressing my opinion, that was just me. Like, that wasn't the Saul character or anything like that. That was just straight up me. That's why I don't necessarily cringe my ass off when I think back to just the actual opinions. It's just a lot of them, my opinions have changed over time. Like, especially with things like Rick and Morty and Advent Children, actually, I would very much like to go back and be like, you're giving it way too much praise. Like, there's so much wrong with this. But, hindsight and all that, so.
Oh yeah, I understand that completely. I mean, I'm still learning how to be a YouTuber, and I've been on this platform for 3-4 years at this rate. I'm not huge, and I'm fine with that, to be honest, because this is a hobby for me, not a job.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just the constant cloying for attention, and just the idea that you have to sell your dignity and play a part in order to be popular nowadays is it doesn't gel well with me at all. The idea that you have to just sand down all of your corners in order to be palatable for a general audience. I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed to think differently. You're not allowed to say bad things. You're not allowed to be yourself, basically, or else you're going to get canceled and have your entire life ruined. And
Yeah.
some people some people are charismatic enough to rise above it, like, John Tron. He's still going. But a lot of people, they just get stampeded by it, and they can't. That's it, Their life is ruined.
Yeah. And I mean, it's some stuff of, oh, you shouldn't have put that on. Yeah. YouTube was designed and was originally created back in 2005 to be fun. And now it's become any other thing in the world.
Yeah, if you express any opinion that isn't the majority opinion, you're gone.
And that's really the entire social media at this rate.
I know, tell me about it, especially now, in the past couple weeks or so. How dare you have a dissenting opinion? You are an evil person because you disagree with me.
Oh, you're a neo-Nazi because you think something different. The fuck
How,
does that have to do with anything?
yeah. How dare you think differently than me?
It's all stupid, to be honest.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I can say this flat out. I mean, I don't care. I mean, it's whatever. I agree with it. I mean, the whole world's turned to shit. It really is.
I think the world has always been shit. We're just more aware of it now because of an intense over-proliferation of information. Humans aren't designed to have this much information all at once. All it does is just make us angry. We have stupid caveman brains who get Hulk. We go into Hulk smash mode when we know too much about the world, because yeah, the world's kind of a extremely fucked up place. So when we're not aware of that, we can just sort of go on our own, about our days and mind our own business. But when we get super aware of bad things happening and we have no control over them, all it does is just activate the grug smash part of our brain. And that's it. And then it just sort of coalesces, and then we got a whole bunch of grug smashing going on. And eventually it'll die down once everybody gets tired of it. And then the next thing will happen.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So you had mentioned that you didn't. Okay, what shows have you reviewed and you've gone back now and gone, well, it's a bit too harsh on that.
A bit too harsh? None. Oh, you know what? Possibly Coraline. I think I might have been a bit too hard on that movie. Okay. But every other thing I've gone back and watched is like, man, I was way too lenient with this show. Like, I gave it way too much of a benefit of the doubt. So Final Space, Rick and Morty, Advent Children, like I said. And keep in mind, I fucking love Advent Children, but I still gave it way too much of I just gave it way too much leeway, super bias. Let's see what else. Possibly BoJack Horseman. I still think BoJack Horseman is great, but not to the extent I fucking tongued its butthole. No, yeah, that's all that comes to mind at the moment. I'm sure there's more, but I've tried to sort of block this stuff from my memory.
Like I said, I rather enjoyed the reviews you did, and especially you gave a different opinion than I had, and I rather liked that, because it wasn't, hey, I grew up with this stuff, this is how much I like it, and other people have a different opinion. Cool, I can learn from it, okay, you don't like it, that's fine. And from your channel is a realist. There's no, buttering on, you don't, you don't beat around the bush. You tell how it is. Personally, I like that.
I guess so.
Well, hey, you say, I don't like this. It's 1.5 eyes out of 5. But it's not a case of, look, I don't like this, but other people might enjoy it. I don't like it. This is my channel. You're not beating around the bush. You're telling how it is, how you enjoy something.
Okay, fair enough. The thing is, I do know what you mean. I'm not a nostalgic person at all, so there are lots of things I grew up on, and it's like, whatever. Just because I grew up on it doesn't mean it's sacred. Like Jimmy Neutron. I grew up on that. I used to watch it all the time, and it's not perfect or anything like that. It's
really not.
Yeah, not overly nostalgic, not overly sentimental. Every so often I would allow my personal biases to creep in because that's what opinions are. They're biases, basically. Right. But I tried really hard not to let it affect my overall stuff. I think the only time it really showed was just with Advent Children. I think I gave it 3.5. If I could go back and amend that, I would give it like maybe a 2. Yeah, I don't think it's better than a 2. But I still love it. It's still super important to me, but objectively speaking, it's just not a really good movie.
I understand that. Do you still watch cartoons to this day, or have you stopped?
Mm-hmm. No, I still watch it. There's really nothing cartoon-wise that interests me at the moment. Everything is just either like, oh, look at how progressive we are, stupid crap like that, or it's just not, it's just like childish stuff that's not for me. I know there's some stuff on Netflix that's supposed to be good, but I don't have Netflix, so... Actually, what I'd been doing for the past few months, up until, well, basically the lockdown started, was I was just watching just a fuck ton of anime. I just got into this huge anime kick and was just watching tons and tons and tons of it. Slowed down a little bit now, but yeah, way more anime than cartoons. But there's never been a point in my life where I have not been watching cartoons. I mean, it's my favorite. Animation's my favorite thing in the world. I'll never give it up.
Is there any review you want to go back and make that you missed out and you think you should make?
Nah, not really.
Did you ever get any hate comments while working on the EyeofSol channel?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. You know what? The majority of them were nice comments, but I got a good chunk of those.
How'd you deal with it?
At the time, my way of dealing with it was to post the worst of them on Twitter and be like, haha, look at this guy. Ha, he's stupid. He disagrees with me. Don't you guys think he's stupid? Basically ganging up on them. But then after a while, I just ignored it. It's like, whatever. If you don't like me, you don't like me. The thing I took the most offense of was always that people were calling me a fedora wearer, even though my hat was not a fedora, it was a trilby. And I was like really I was obsessively angry about that for some reason. It was like, I don't know, I just got really mad about it. But, you know, who cares? Of course people are going to call me a fedora wearer. A trilby is very similar to a fedora, but to me, I was just, it was a bit of the tism, I think, going on there. It was like, you guys are wrong. It was like how I really resented how people would call my story in the reviews, call them skits. That would piss me off too. It's like, it's not a skit, it's a story.
Well,
I just had some weird hang-ups back then.
Well, speaking of the story, how'd you come up with those?
I like, you know what, one of my favorite things are stories about possession. So ghosts or demons or, I don't know, I just really like stories about possession by some sort of force. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to tell any story, it's going to be a story about evil things possessing somebody. But also, I kind of took inspiration from the book series I've written, in that you can't always trust that the protagonist is a good person. That's what that whole, portion of the story was about, is that you follow them and you're following their story, but they just might not be a good person. Not like an anti-hero or anything like that, but just straight up a bad person. I'm not saying it's like a shocking revelation or anything like that, but in storytelling, we're always taught that the characters should always be true to themselves and always be, always try to find the best part of themselves. But some people, what if being true to yourself just means being a bad person? Mm-hmm. So I know that whole part wasn't really explored in the story, but that's kind of the themes I like to tell, is one's inner morality and whether or not they can maintain a protagonist role, even if they may not be a good person ultimately.
I get that. Kind of reminds me, do you know Kuro the artist?
Yes, I know.
He worked on a comic called Dead. Did you ever read that?
No.
Okay, so basically it's about this guy who is an absolute jerk, and he doesn't like anyone, and he just is mean to everyone. Ends up tricking the devil, and he becomes the ruler of hell.
Oh, that's not really what I mean, but okay.
No. What I mean is, like, the protagonist, the main character, is rude to everybody, and it's similar to what you were saying, and when I was interviewing him, he was making mention of a similar concept, of where even the protagonist and the main character is not a good person.
No, okay. I don't mean like being an asshole to people around you. That's not what I mean. Is that if you look into your innermost self, because bad people can do good things. If you look at your innermost self and you decide what your morality is, should we celebrate the people whose morality is not conventionally good?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like if you searched your soul and you came to the decision that you are a bad person, is that okay?
Oh, okay, I is different than. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're not going around like kicking babies or
Right, yeah.
torching banks or anything like that. But you are a person who can interact with other people. But if you look at the deepest, most part of yourself and just say you are not a good person, is that okay? Is it okay for you to support a person who is not good, basically, whose goals may not be considered good? And also, if good and evil, or good or bad, or even real to begin with, if they are objective realities, that sort of thing. That's more what I mean.
Okay, yeah, that is different than I thought you meant. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
I'm very much a thematically focused person. Like, I like presenting questions and seeing if it works or not.
I gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, it's actually a rather interesting concept, if I'm honest.
Well, thank you. That's plug. That's one of the themes that's in the book series I'm rewriting at the moment. Just one of the themes.
Well, yeah, I was actually gonna ask that next. How is your book coming along?
I'm currently on the final act of rewriting the first book. It's 273 pages currently. It's probably going to be around like maybe 330, 340 pages when it's done. Each act is around 10 chapters long. So, it's coming along gradually. It really depends on how I feel. But the whole ending is different to the way it was before. Completely different. Because the ending sucked. The first version, the ending was just shit. So this has hopefully less shit.
Well, I mean, as a creator, you can look at your stuff and you can go, hey, I'm not a fan of how this turned out, and you can rewrite it.
Well, keep in mind, I started writing the story when I was 14, so everything was all, like, super edgy and violent and just, that kind of stuff. So taking the things that worked from all that, like, edgy bullshit and trying to find the interesting parts of those and then just reconstructing the story around it while still keeping the general goal of the story the same. That's kind of thing. And some parts are easier than others, but I'm at the point now where absolutely nothing can be taken from the original version. All of it is worthless, so it must all be crafted from scratch, basically.
Well, I understand it. I mean, I personally am a story writer myself, and I like dabbling with stories and messing with them. I've been writing scripts and whatnot since I was in 7th grade of middle school, which I don't know if it's the same thing for you Canadian people or not, but...
I've been writing for a very long time. Since grade 6 was when I won my first writing award.
Okay.
And I haven't won any since.
Well,
but I haven't tried to win any, so
that's also a valid point. Well, it's also I've been looking at your skits, and when I was watching them, I didn't really realize you had skits, and then I'm rewatching them, going, hey, look, your stories. I'm rewatching it, going, hey, look, there's the story behind this, and especially looking into it, and I found a Wikipedia page about you, and your whole story is flunged out. Like,
yeah, somebody who was really obsessed with me at the time just wrote this huge, like, just overview of the thing. But I think they stopped being a fan at some point because it stops at a certain point, or they died, or got addicted to drugs and couldn't care anymore. Who knows?
I don't know, that's for sure. But I just find it all interesting. I mean, to me, I actually have been throwing around the idea of adding a story to my videos because I want to, and I want to include more of my storytelling more. I want to expand that a bit more myself, and to see other people who have done it better and to see how I can improve myself. That's how I'm looking at it.
Okay, well, if I can give you some advice, it's a huge risk to do it. I mean, there's going to be a really huge chunk of people, assuming that your videos get attention, that don't care and will skip, or they will just complain about it. There will be a small subset of people who are like, yeah, I'm invested in this story, but the overwhelming majority will not care about the story. All they care about is the information they're there to see. So if your video is titled like top 10 bleached buttholes or something like that, and there's a 10-minute story before that, nobody's there to see the story. They're there to see the top 10 bleached buttholes. So you really gotta make sure that you either understand your audience or that you're prepared to have a deluge of negative comments for a story like that. If you care about that sort of thing.
I'm really not that worried about it. It's like, hey, this is my channel. I'm running the way I want to, which is
It's just, it used to be that you could stand more on your own with that, but because of YouTube's insane crackdown on any sort of individual thought or anything that isn't just mind-raping brainwashing for 6-year-olds, you might just get severely punished for it.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, YouTube is royally effing up everyone, and it's just...
Yeah, I'm glad I bailed off of that sinking ship, let me tell you. This shit, I have never... look, I'm not going to say all my time on YouTube was bad. I mean, there was a lot of times where I interacted with my fans, and I felt very loved and part of the community, especially when I was receiving stuff in my P.O. box. People were sending me nice letters. Yeah, so, and doing fan art and everything. I think the time I felt closest to my audience was when they were making fan art of me. That always made my day, getting a piece of fan art. But over time, it was just, it all became real to me. Like, all the friends I made as a YouTuber, they all hated me behind my back. They despised me, and they were, I wouldn't say conspiring against me necessarily,
Right.
but it was like we were a united front against those big baddies, the bad cartoons, the bad people in the cartoon industry and everything like that. But then once that united front started to crumble away, and I basically got red pilled on the whole situation, and I couldn't see it for the same thing anymore. Just the thought of coming back to YouTube makes me want to vomit my gizzards into the gutter. Like, just, ugh. It sucks, too, because YouTube at one point was a dream factory. Any random schmo could become a multimillionaire, and now it's just, you either make brainwashing material for 6-year-olds, or you get the fuck out.
Yeah, I understand it. I mean, I hate it, you're right, but it's so different than it used to be. It really is.
Mm-hmm. It's so restrictive now.
Yeah.
No, because YouTube wants to be TV. They want to follow the same standards that TV does, because advertisers are run by a bunch of boomers who don't realize that people consume advertising differently on the internet than they do on TV. But I guess we'll just have to wait for those boomers to die off. Maybe they'll get coronavirus and just die.
Never cover Code Lyoko.
I did a video on it.
Did you actually?
Let me give you an excerpt of the review. It was...
Well, I know there was a running gag when it was doing...
Isn't that all you need to know?
Well, there was an April Fool's joke. There was one that you did a review in the future, and it was about Code Lyoko, and there was all this, and I wasn't sure if you actually disliked the show or just was messing with it because people kept pushing it on you.
I actually, I think I made a Mini Mondays, yeah, where it was like, these are a bunch of things I'm never going to review, and what the top pick was Code Lyoko. So I watched the first 3 episodes of Code Lyoko, and I couldn't stand it. It was just awful. And I was like, I can't watch any more of this. But the thing is that with my show, I have to watch everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? You're giving a half-formed opinion if you don't watch everything. Because let's say I did a review of Adventure Time, but only watched the first 3 episodes. That is not representative of Adventure Time at all. So, but that's the thing, is when I watched it, I was like, I can't stand this cartoon. I don't want to watch it. I don't think I can watch any more of this. And keep in mind, I watched all of Final Fantasy Unlimited, all of the Garbage Pail Kids, all of Planet Sheen, and all of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I just couldn't get through Code Lyoko.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to disappoint people and say that, I just hated it and couldn't get through it. So I just turned it into a joke. Like, if anytime anybody asks me to review Code Lyoko, I'm going to push it back a week on the schedule. And at that point, it was requested so many times that I just never review it. And then just kept teasing people with it because I thought it was funny. Because I'm a bit of a shithead, you see. So, you know what? That's my favorite review, is the Code Lyoko April Fool's review. It's going to stand the test of time, let me tell you.
So, one of the gimmicks you had when you did YouTube was you would have a title and then you would have 2 words describing the TV show, but they were similar sounding and they were...
Yeah.
What was that?
because I like alliteration.
Oh, okay. That makes
That's
sense.
that's the only reason.
I wasn't sure if it was like something you're like, oh, this might be kind of neat, or just kind of, I like alliteration. That's all.
No, alliteration's cool.
Um, how did you start? How did you meet the guy that works at Ninjago that you started working with Ninjago through?
Well, we work at the same studio, so we're.
Well, you had mentioned in the Ninjago video that you had started talking to him on Twitter, so I wasn't sure if it just started there or if he saw.
Oh yeah. Okay. So before I started working at the studio I work at now,
Yep.
At the time Ninjago was still at Will Film, so it hadn't moved to Canadian production yet. Um, so Tommy Andreasen, who's one of the producers on Ninjago, he was writing this story on Twitter. He was releasing it one chapter at a time, Way of the Departed, and at the time I was super into Ninjago, so I was reading this, like following the story, but I couldn't help but noticing that there were a lot of spelling and grammar errors in it.
That's me. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Uh,
I heard it and went, okay, they're probably just moving it, and then you're like, oh, what
yeah.
was that?
Yeah. Anyway, so there were a lot of spelling and grammar errors in it. So offhandedly, I just asked him one day. I was like, "Hey, I do proofreading. If you need a proofreader, like a volunteer proofreader,
Right.
I'm happy to do it." And he's just like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I was like, "Okay." So I ended up proofreading a few chapters for him, and that was cool. So then we had a bit of a back and forth, and then when the Lego people came to Canada, he came with them. And at that point, I was working at the studio where they ended up going. And so he was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Vancouver. You want to meet?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I want to meet." So we had a brief meeting. And then I released my review, and Dan and Kevin Hageman, I'm not sure how you say it, they tweeted at it too. And it just sort of kept going at that point. It was just this massive chain of coincidences that that led to me ending up working on the show. It's the fact that specific production came over to this specific studio in Canada, and then I just happened to work there and happened to have an in with one of the guys. It's just, God, if you don't believe in coincidences, then something's going on. But I look at, yeah, it's just a long ass chain of coincidences that led to it. But the Lego guys are great. They're very nice people. You know what, Tommy Andreasen, he gave the time of day to a random schmuck like me, so I definitely, it was great. That was great. And Lego's cool too.
You're right. Does anyone on the show know you're a former YouTuber?
Yeah, a couple do.
Or you're not?
I don't talk about it. I don't want anybody looking it up where I work. I want to keep my professional life separate from YouTube. There was a time where I used to brag to anybody in earshot, like, "Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I'm cool." But now it's like, I don't mention it if I can help it. Some people draw it out of me out of protest. There was one guy who actually found my video by complete accident. YouTube suggested it to him, and he watched it, and he was like, I work with that girl." What the fuck? And I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ." But yeah, I don't talk about it anymore. I really try to keep it down low, because I can never get rid of my videos. Somebody will have downloaded them. Even if I delete them, they'll re-upload them. Right. So there's no point. But that doesn't mean I have to talk about it and advertise it anymore. I'm much more focused on furthering my actual professional career that can get me places in life than this flash in the pan hobby that I used to have.
I understand it. Well, what editing software did you use?
Adobe Premiere.
Okay, I wasn't sure. A lot of people use different ones, so I wasn't sure which one you preferred. And and I like the editing style you used and some of the stuff. So again, trying to learn and adapt and whatnot. Well, actually, that is all the questions I had, and that was around 24 of them. So that helps. Do you have any advice for people who want to go into the field that you're currently in?
Animation, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, I have two pieces of advice. One is, it depends on what you want to get. like out of a career in the animation industry. You have much better luck getting in through tech than through artistry, unless you're, because it's incredibly competitive. There are so many people who want in. Canada is great for animation, especially Montreal and Vancouver. Those are kind of the two epicenters of animation. People like producing entertainment in Canada because they get these sweet tax credits for doing it. So lots of production goes on in Canada. Your best bet, if you really are committed, is to try and get a work visa, come up here to Canada, and try to get an in some way. Second piece of advice, you will never ever start as a director or a producer or an editor or anything like that. You have to work your way up. Everybody wants to get in with their big ideas and be like, I've got a sweet idea, I'm going to run a show. Running a show is incredibly difficult, and it requires a ton of collaboration between different people and different locations as well. A lot of times writing is done in places like LA, and it's piped up to Canada. It doesn't happen in Canada. So you will never ever just walk in with your big idea and have a show like in 2 weeks. It's a long and grueling process. Nearly all ideas never make it to production, let alone air. And you just got to be content with working your way up. Like maybe you have to work a job you're not particularly interested in for a couple years to gain the experience and the reputation of being sort of worthy to work in the entertainment industry. Because if nobody likes you, no one's going to want to hire you. And also, studios talk as well, so don't be that guy. There's a lot of studios kind of sort of cluster together in certain areas. So if you develop a bad reputation at this studio and you try to get a job at another studio, they're going to call the other studio. And if you have a bad reputation, that's it. So make sure you're keeping your nose clean. I suppose there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but if it's what you care about, then you got to make it happen. If a random schmuck like me can get in, then so can you. You gotta learn to play ball. That's all.
Well, is there any plugs you would like to add? Any links you'd like me to put in? That way, people know where to reach at.
No, no, it's okay.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to plug in the book or.
Well, it's not done yet. I mentioned it, therefore I plugged it already. So once it's done and proofread, I'll be releasing it one chapter at a time on my Twitter. But I have no idea if anybody's going to give a shit about it. So that's whatever. If you want to find me, you can find me. You don't need to. I don't need to shove myself down your throat.
Well, again, it was wonderful to talk to you, and I will have to see about doing a follow-up video or something, because, again, it's been an absolute blast.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
This is the first time I've done an interview, and it's quite a while, actually. Yeah. Well, nobody wants to talk to me anymore, so... But thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Well,
it's good to talk to people.
Yeah, that's normally how we progress, and we we learn. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. All right.
You too.
Bye.